Let's start with prayer. Mother, Father, God, divine mind of the universe, we have just had a day or more of feasting, family gatherings, and joyful encounters, and we have all celebrated the abundance of good in our lives. We are so blessed, and we come here to express our gratitude for all the blessings you bestow on us. We are so thankful to live in a free country, to have clean air and water, to be able to purchase any abundance of any kind of food that we like, and are able to worship freely. We know that life is full of all kinds of challenges, and we affirm that we learn about patience, compassion, forgiveness, joy, and love through all challenges. With every problem or challenge, we discover new ways to react and respond with greater understanding and love. With every event in life, we can find an easier way to demonstrate the Christ mind within us and to live according to your will for us. Our goal in life is to find and experience the highest level of God consciousness possible. We choose to be aware of your holy presence in our lives. With Jesus as our way shower, we are guided in paths of righteousness. As we seek and find our way to you, we know we receive your mercy and your unconditional love. For that, we are eternally thankful. And so it is. Amen. What's really important? Did you ever get a free lunch? I'm sure we've all had friends treat us to a free lunch or supper once in a while. Some professional people provide a free lunch so they can present advice or material on their services. I think real estate agents, financial advisors, and insurance agents are most likely the frequent presenters. Andre and I have a financial advisor who manages all our retirement funds. Twice a year, he gives a presentation at a restaurant and he picks up the tab. So a few weeks ago, I invited Susie to go with me to his luncheon. Not only was it a free lunch, but a chance for Susie and me to spend some time together. The restaurant provided really nice meals, and there must have been 25 people there. In the presentation, we learned the latest news on the investment markets and what the trends are likely to be for the rest of the year. It was a wonderful PowerPoint presentation with lots of slides, charts, diagrams, and so on. One diagram really caught my eye, and here's my rendition of it. It's two circles overlapping. One that indicates what's really important. One circle indicates what we're in charge of, and of course, where the two overlap. The colored space where they overlap represents what's important and under our control. That's to be our area of focus. He, of course, was addressing people who were worried about their investments, encouraging them to focus on areas that they can control. I got to thinking about his advice applies to life in general. If we can't control something, there's no sense worrying about it. We all grew up learning there's no point crying over spilled milk. And then as we got older, we learned the serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. While I sat there listening to this elaborate presentation, I was thinking about how we humans have serious challenges to face in life, over which we have absolutely no control. It might be a health issue, or a financial concern, facing death, or trouble with the kids. All those are truly very important issues in life, and we may or may not have any influence on them. We humans tend to worry about everything, allowing our thoughts to range all over that diagram. When we stop and realize that this is what we're doing, it's time to focus on what's truly important and on what we have control. When Andre and I first had our leaky pipe and our destroyed kitchen floor, my mind wandered all over the place too. It's just human nature. But we can change that. We can focus on that shaded area where we have control and it's important, and release the rest to God's control. We actually have to teach ourselves how to focus on what's really important and controllable. By now, we Unitics know that when we focus on anything, we're really inviting more of that to come into our experience, whether it's positive or negative. We are multidimensional beings, and our thoughts are electromagnetic energy that pulls to us something that matches our thoughts. So if we say, I want joy, but it's not coming to me, what we're really saying, in effect, is joy do not come my way. By focusing on the lack of joy, we actually push joy away. If we're not fully open to it, it can't come to us. When we feel great or feel terrible, that's our indication of what we are attracting. Our feelings are our inner guidance system. So if we're going to focus on what's important and on what we can control, I would suggest the most important thing, and one thing over which we truly have control, is our spiritual life. The goal of our spiritual life is to find our way to knowing God, to be aware of God's presence in our lives, and to gain God consciousness. Jesus said, I came that they may have life and have it more abundantly. That's why Jesus came to earth, into human form, to reveal God to us and to show us the way to finding God. God offers us unconditional love, guidance, and eternal life, but we have to accept that. We have free will and can refuse. I'm sure there are some people who do. Yet, Jesus taught, for everyone who asks receives. He who seeks finds. To him who knocks, the door will be opened. So here we are, asking, seeking, and knocking. For what are we asking? What do we seek? And what door do we hope to open by knocking? If our goal is to know and experience God consciousness, there are several things we can do to reach that goal, and the main one is to follow Jesus' leading. Jesus taught that the kingdom of heaven is at hand, meaning it's right here, now, today, present within each of us. We have a soul. We are spirit beings. The source is within us. The source of reality is within. It is our true essence. We are aware of our thoughts and feelings, but when we sit in contemplation or meditation, or sit and go in the silence within, we can become aware of the greater consciousness behind our thoughts. We can connect with our higher self and remove the artificial barrier between our ego and the Christ mind. So one of the things we ask for is that the essence of God be made much more clear to us and begin to merge with our being. Jesus taught that we're in the world, but not to be of it. He didn't want us to be indifferent to the world around us, but to be detached from the outcomes of the world. We can shift our focus and attachment away from the physical to the spiritual aspects of our lives. We are spirit first and human second. Our bodies cannot live forever, but our soul or spirit can. How often during the day do we stop paying attention to the background noises around us and start paying attention to the background of our soul's experience? We can stop getting so involved in the physical world and start noticing the spiritual world evolving within us. Jesus taught that his yoke is easy and his burden is light. As we move closer to God consciousness, life becomes easier and much less worrisome. We can stop trying to control things and situations over which we actually do not have control. We can stop resisting so much or pushing against things. We are the source of our own lives, and the world is a secondary actor. As we let go and stop struggling, solutions will come more easily to us. The universe cooperates with us when we choose to follow God's lead. Jesus taught us to ask in order to receive. However, I doubt that he intended that our asking should come from our needy, greedy ego. When our ego is in charge of the asking, the request truly is trivial and insincere. Thus, our asking and our receiving are disjointed. Our ego asks for things to make our outer worldly life easier to bear. That's not what is all important. Our inner soul life is to be our main focus. We need to practice asking in a new way, a soul-inspired way, so that every request is asked of the God consciousness within us. Remember, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. It's right here now. The idea of God's judging whether we are worthy to be answered or not stems from the old belief that God is out there somewhere, from the old idea that we are separate from the God consciousness. Jesus told his disciples that God knows and sees everything. Nothing is hidden. He repeatedly said that God is in us and we are in God. The reason we take a new view toward asking and praying is so we can dismiss the old idea of separation from God. We need to learn to set our ego self aside. If we ask from our higher soul self, from our Christ mind within, then we're asking with the spiritual focus, and every request is answered. Jesus taught us to forgive those who trespass against us, so that the error of our own ways might be forgiven. One of Jesus' main goals was to help humans to believe in a forgiving God. He said he brought a new covenant based on forgiveness, not on punishment. Error thinking, or what other folks call sin, is the cause of our suffering. How can we end suffering? We must let it go and accept God's mercy. We cannot be forgiven and released from suffering if we're not aware of and accepting of that release. The feeling of release has to get through to us. That means we are to remove any blockage to that release, whether it be anger, fear, guilt, resentment, low self-esteem, or ideas of isolation from God. All negative feelings are forms of suffering. And what is suffering but a focus on what is not real? No negative ideas or feelings are what God wants us to experience. God is love and wants us to live in his pure love. This earthly physical experience is just play acting. Spirit is what's real. Jesus often said that his followers didn't know who he was or from where he came. Humans had been stuck in an unreal vision of who and what God is and who and what they were. Any negative idea is just a feeling from the past. It's just memories and can be forgiven released, and set free. They have no present reality beyond that which we give them. So we can choose to let them go and accept God's mercy. Jesus taught us that we must be born anew. That means now, today, in this lifetime, not in some place far, far away. Our goal is to reach God consciousness through our own efforts of inner transformation. Jesus did his best to explain how to do that. He wanted us to experience a rebirth of spirit, a renewal of our spiritual awareness, and a strengthening of our connection with God. I doubt that spiritual enlightenment comes to many as a sudden event. It's more often a slow process, a continuous uncovering of soul self. Step by step, we become aware of what we've been thinking, doing, and saying that really doesn't work for us. Even more slowly, we take responsibility for our thoughts, words, and deeds and stop pushing blame onto someone else. This is a process of redefining self. We let go of all the old defining terms given to us by others, and we release any old self-limiting definitions that we chose in the past. Finally, we become aware and awake enough to create change from within. We change our thoughts, thus changing our words and actions. Then maybe we can claim to be born anew in the Christ mind. Then we can be free of suffering and live and demonstrate God's love. Jesus taught that we are to be the light of the world. We can take that both figuratively and literally. Our regular vision can't see the whole of the energy of the universe. Jesus knew that and spoke often of helping the blind to see. He wants us to develop a second sight, a deeper vision and understanding of the world and of God. He wants to teach us, just as he taught Paul, that God lives through us, and in him we live and move and have our being. We are just one form of universal intelligence that lives and breathes throughout the universe. In all my research and reading about near-death experiences or past life regressions, I've learned that anyone who has been to the other side and come back to tell about it says that we do not appear as physical beings to them, but as light. Have you ever taken a photo and had an orb of light appear on the photo? We've had that happen right here at Unity on the Eastern Shore. When we are living from our soul selves, from our higher awareness, seeing the world from our second sight, we can create what we humans call miracles. We must see ourselves and others as God essence itself. That takes practice. And that's why we come here week after week. I started today by saying the goal of our spiritual life is to find our way to knowing God, to gain God consciousness. And I've mentioned several good methods of practicing and achieving that. And I borrowed these from Dr. Deepak Chopra in his book, The Third Jesus. We must start with the focus on what's important and what we can control. Following Jesus' lead is important and is definitely within our control. He taught us the kingdom of heaven is at hand. We're to be in the world but not of it. His yoke is easy and his burden is light. We're to ask in order to receive. We're to forgive those who trespass against us. We must be born anew, and we are the light of the world. I'll end with a prayerful poem that I found on the internet. I asked the Lord to bless you as I prayed for you today, to guide you and protect you as you go along your way. His love is always with you. His promises are true. And when we give him all our cares, we know he'll see us through. So when the road you're traveling seems difficult at best, just remember I'm here praying, and God will do the rest. One final note. In any time of meditation or contemplation, or when we go to the silence within, we can be still and know that God is. Let's spend a few minutes in quiet meditation. This is the time when we go within to connect again with our own divinity, to refresh our understanding of self. Please close your eyes for a private encounter with your higher self and relax. Let the chair hold you. Just let that word come gently to you. Allow the idea behind your word to merge into you and to settle within you, so the distance disappears and that divine being comes to you as gently as the word did. Realize that you are embodying that aspect of the God essence within you right now. That essence is breathing through you and living through you. Just be aware of the divine energy that is enlivening your body and soul. For a moment, allow the divine being within you to lift one of your hands about an inch, and then let it back down. Realize that the source of your life is living and moving through you. Just for today, choose to let go of the need to control life. Release the negative thoughts that bind you.